The orbital academy of Xenthis Prime hummed with the quiet energy of 100 different species going about their daily routines. Its curved silver corridors stretched like veins through the massive station, lit by the soft blue glow of embedded lighting strips. Outside the panoramic viewports, the gas giant Xenthis dominated the view, its swirling storms casting eerie patterns across the polished floors. Liam Carter adjusted the collar of his uniform, the only human standard issue among a sea of alien, tailored outfits. At 18, he was the youngest cadet in his class, and the only human exchange student in the entire academy. His fingers tapped an absent rhythm against his thigh, a nervous habit from his esports days that he couldn't quite shake. "Move it, soft skin," a guttural voice growled behind him. Liam didn't need to turn to know it was Zorvax. The reptilian tactician loomed over him, his scaled bulk nearly blocking the corridor. The scent of sulfur clung to him, a byproduct of his homeworld's atmosphere. "You're blocking the walkway with your, whatever you call that posture." Liam stepped aside without a word. 3 months at the academy had taught him when to pick his battles. Zorvax brushed past, his tail flicking dangerously close to Liam's face. Behind him trailed Vexis, her crystalline form refracting the overhead lights into prismatic patterns across the walls. Where Zorvax was brute force, Vexis was cold calculation, the academy's reigning logic master. The strategy chamber buzzed with activity as Liam entered. Holographic displays hovered above the central table, showing star maps and fleet deployments. Professor Krell, a four-eyed veteran of the Cygnus Wars, stood at the head of the table, his armored exoskeleton clicking as he adjusted the simulation parameters. "Today we examine the Battle of Tarkis Nebula," Krell announced, his voice like grinding stones. "Standard Federation doctrine versus the insurgent flanking maneuvers, Cadet Carter. Your analysis." Liam straightened in his seat. "The insurgents won because they broke pattern," he said. "They attacked during what should have been a regrouping phase." Zorvax snorted, a puff of acrid smoke escaping his nostrils. "Because they were undisciplined. No proper military would." "Which is exactly why it worked," Liam interrupted. "The Federation commanders were too locked into their doctrine to adapt." He reached forward, manipulating the hologram to show an alternative approach. "If they'd used more fluid game theory-based game theory." Vexis's voice cut through the room like shattering glass. Her crystalline facets pulsed with amusement. "You mean those primitive distraction activities your species indulges in?" Laughter rippled through the chamber. Liam felt his ears grow hot but kept his voice steady. "Modern human military strategy borrows heavily from children's pastimes." Zorvax finished for him, baring his teeth in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Tell me, Carter, did your victories involve collecting colorful power-ups? Perhaps jumping over animated mushrooms?" More laughter. Even some of the normally neutral species were clicking their mandibles in amusement. Liam's fingers curled into fists beneath the table. Professor Krell raised a hand for silence. "Enough. The value of any strategy lies in its effectiveness, not its origin." He tapped to control, and the hologram shifted to display a massive fleet deployment. "Tomorrow begins the annual Tides of Conquest exercise. Command assignments have been posted." The chamber erupted into chatter as cadets checked their terminals. Liam accessed his with a swipe, then blinked at the assignment. The USN Sparrow, a light corvette with minimal armament. The weakest ship in the simulation. Zorvax leaned over, his breath hot on Liam's neck. "Ah, the perfect vessel for your game strategies." He tapped his own display, showing the dreadnought Obsidian Maw. "Perhaps you can make it dance prettily before I vaporize it." Vexis examined her assignment, the Logic, Cruiser Fractal Dawn. "A 98.6% probability of your destruction within the first engagement cycle," she stated matter-of-factly. "Would you like me to calculate the decimal places?" Liam closed his display with a snap. "Save your processing power," he said, standing. You'll need it when your perfect algorithms can't predict human unpredictability. As he walked away, the whispers followed him. Soft-skin arrogance, someone muttered. They still think their primitive tricks can compete with real strategy. Liam didn't turn around. He'd heard it all before, but this time something burned in his chest that hadn't been there during previous mockeries, a cold, calculating fire. He reached his quarters and activated the privacy seal. The wall screen flickered to life, displaying schematics of the Sparrow. It was small, yes, underarmed, certainly. But it had one advantage none of the alien vessels could match: a human pilot who'd spent 10,000 hours mastering the art of the impossible comeback. Liam's fingers flew across the interface, calling up old battle recordings from Earth's greatest reel. Time strategy championships, patterns emerged in the chaos, feints within feints, bluffs layered 3 deep. He smiled for the first time that day. Let's see how they like playing against someone who grew up in the ranked leagues, he murmured to the empty room. Outside, Xenthis's storms swirled in endless, unpredictable patterns. The orbital simulation chamber hummed to life, its curved walls dissolving into a starscape, so vast it made Liam Carter's stomach lurch. Around him, holographic consoles flickered as the USN Sparrow's bridge materialized, a cramped, angular space with peeling paint and flickering status lights. His fingers traced the cracked edges of the tactical display. They'd given him the oldest ship in the Academy's database. Pathetic, hissed Zorvax from across the virtual battlefield. The reptilian commander's scaled face rippled with amusement on the main view screen. His flagship, the dreadnought Obsidian Maw, loomed like a black dagger amidst a swarm of cruisers. They gave the Softkin a glorified cargo hauler. Liam's crew, 3 nervous cadets from minor species, flinched as their ship's diagnostics scrolled red. Shield capacity at Faye, muttered Krex, his insectoid arms trembling over the engineering panel. Weapons, 1 railgun battery, sir. We won't last 30 seconds against... Stick to the plan, Liam said, cracking his knuckles. The Academy's Tides of Conquest simulation was supposed to teach fleet coordination. Instead, the other teams had formed an unspoken alliance: crush the human first. A chime echoed through the chamber as the holographic admiral appeared. Begin exercise in 54. Vexis' crystalline form shimmered into view on a secondary screen. The Fractal Dawn's commander didn't bother with words, just pulsed a dismissive pattern of light. Her logic cruisers fell into perfect formation, each movement calculated to millimeter precision. 2. 1 engage. Space erupted. The Obsidian Maw's plasma lances carved through a simulated moon, the shockwave sending Liam's corvette spinning. Alarms shrieked as Krex slammed into the ceiling. They're targeting our engines. Hold course, Liam ordered, teeth rattling as another blast rocked the hull. His eyes darted across the tactical map. Zorvax's fleet was herding them toward the debris field, exactly where he wanted to go. Human. Zorvax's voice dripped with mock concern over comms. Your primitive vessel is leaking atmosphere. Perhaps you should... Liam muted him with a jab of his thumb. Helm, hard to port on my Mark weapons. Power down the railgun and divert everything to thrusters. The alien cadets gaped at him. That leaves us defenseless. Mark, the Sparrow, lurched sideways as a plasma volley meant for their bridge grazed the hull. Liam's stomach flipped as artificial gravity stuttered. On the view screen, the Obsidian Maw's escorts overshot, their weapons tracking empty space where the human ship should have been, now between those asteroids. Liam pointed at the spinning debris. Full burn. They'll follow us in, Krex protested. Liam grinned, him counting on it. The Sparrow's aging thrusters screamed as they dove into the asteroid belt behind them. 6 Zorvaxian destroyers broke formation in pursuit. Shields at Faye, the computer intoned. A glancing blow from a drifting rock sent sparks flying from the console. Vexis' voice cut through the chaos, her crystalline harmonics sharp with disapproval. Zorvax, your emotional pursuit is illogical. The human is silence. The reptilian snarl vibrated through the comms. He'll grind his ship to dust. Liam watched the blips on his screen edge closer. Perfect. Engineering, activate the package. Krex hesitated. But sir, the mines are, do it. A series of dull thuds echoed through the Sparrow's hull as 20 canisters launched backward. They looked like debris, just more junk in the asteroid field. Until the Obsidian Moor's lead destroyer passed them. The detonation lit up Liam's displays. 1, 2, 3 destroyers vanished in blossoms of silent fire. The remaining 3 veered wildly, straight into a cluster of tumbling asteroids. Direct hits. Krek's antennae quivered. But how? Those mines shouldn't have penetrated there, because they weren't mines. Liam tapped his console, pulling up the weapon specs. They were EMP shunts. 1 second of shield disruption was all the asteroids needed. The bridge fell silent, except for the creaking of stressed bulkheads. On the view screen, the Obsidian Moor slowed, its weapon ports cycling down. Zorvax's scaled face reappeared, his slit pupils blown wide. You baited me. Liam leaned back in his chair. And you took it. Classic noob move. A new alert blared. The Fractal Dawn's perfect formation was advancing, cutting off their escape. Vexis' crystalline form pulsed with cold light. An interesting trick, human, but now you're trapped. Liam glanced at his dwindling power reserves. Then he smiled. Helm, set course for the nebula maximum burn. Krex made a choking noise. That's a radiation storm. Our sensors will be just as blind as theirs. Liam brought up a star chart circling a swirling violet cloud. And I know exactly where we're going. As the Sparrow limped toward the glowing gas, Liam caught the flicker of uncertainty in Vex's crystalline facets. For the first time, the logic master hesitated. The human's grin widened. Round 2 was about to begin. The bridge of the USN Sparrow hummed with quiet tension. Liam Carter leaned over the flickering tactical display, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The simulated battlefield stretched before him, a starfield littered with the glowing icons of hostile warships. Zorvax's dreadnought Obsidian Moor loomed at the center of the formation, its escorts fanning out like a predator's claws. Status report, Liam said, his voice calm despite the sweat beading on his forehead. Ensign Rivas, the Sparrow's tactical officer, swallowed hard. We're outgunned 10-1, sir. Zorvax has US boxed in near the asteroid belt. If we engage head on, we won't. Liam zoomed in on the asteroid field, his mind racing. The jagged rocks tumbled slowly, their shadows long and deep. Perfect over the comms. Zorvax's mocking hiss crackled through. Human, your games end here. Surrender now, and it'll make your defeat painless. Liam's lips curled into a grin. Oh, we're just getting started. He muted the channel and turned to his crew. Helm, full retreat toward the asteroid field. Rivas, prep the decoy drones. Set them to mimic our signature, but keep them sloppy. I want Zorvax to think we're panicking. The crew exchanged glances but didn't hesitate. The Sparrow's engines flared as it pivoted, its thrusters burning hot as it fled toward the tumbling rocks. Behind them, the Obsidian Moor's escorts surged forward, their weapons charging. Decoys away, Rivas announced. A swarm of flickering holograms erupted from the Sparrow's launch bays. Each one a crude imitation of their corvette. They zigzagged erratically, leaving messy ion trails in their wake. Liam watched the tactical feed. Zorvax's fleet took the bait. The lead destroyers broke formation, chasing the decoys with predatory glee. Right on schedule, Liam muttered. Now cut main power. Drift us behind that big asteroid at Mark 7. The Sparrow's lights dimmed as its reactors powered down. The ship went dark, its hull cooling rapidly in the vacuum. Only the faintest hum of life support remained as they slid into the shadow of a massive asteroid. Zorvax's voice came through again, this time tinged with irritation. Where did he go? Scan the area. Liam held his breath as the Obsidian Moor's escorts fanned out, their sensors sweeping the field. One by one, the decoys winked out, destroyed or dissipated. The lead destroyer, the Talon's Edge, veered too close to a cluster of asteroids. Now, Liam whispered. A series of silent explosions rippled across the Talon's Edge's hull. The mines they'd planted earlier, disguised as debris, detonated in perfect sequence. The destroyer's engines flared white, hot before erupting in a spectacular fireball. Two more escorts collided in their haste to evade, their hulls crumpling like tin cans. On the bridge of the Obsidian Moor, Zorvax's scales darkened with rage. Impossible. How did... His command was cut short as the Sparrow suddenly reappeared on sensors, its reactors flaring back to life. Liam's voice cut through the chaos, cool and collected. Zorvax, you just lost 3 ships to a bunch of rocks. Maybe you should have paid more attention in geology class. The reptilian commander snarled, his forked tongue flicking in agitation. You coward! Hiding behind asteroids like some primitive. Adapt or die, Liam interrupted. That's the first rule of war, and the second. He tapped a command into his console. Always have a backup plan. The Sparrow's railguns hummed as they charged, their barrels glowing blue with pent-up energy. A volley of tungsten slugs screamed across the void, punching clean through the Obsidian Moor's forward shields. The dreadnought shuddered, its armor buckling under the unexpected assault. Zorvax's holographic image flickered on the Sparrow's view screen, his slit pupils dilated with shock. You tricked me. Liam leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. Welcome to human game theory, Zorvax Level 1. He nodded to Reavers. Disable their engines, but leave them alive. I want them to watch what happens next. As the Sparrow's weapons found their mark, the Obsidian Moor's thrusters sputtered and died. The mighty dreadnought drifted helplessly, its weapons systems offline. On the tactical display, the rest of Zorvax's fleet floundered, their formation in tatters. Liam allowed himself a small, satisfied smile, round 1 to humanity. But the real game was just beginning. He opened a channel to the fractal dawn, where Vexis' crystalline form shimmered with cold calculation. Your move, Liam said. Or are you too busy processing the odds? Vexis' voice was like ice cracking. Your tactics are illogical. No species fights this way. Liam chuckled. That's why we win. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Prep the sensor ghosts. Let's give Vexis something to really think about. The bridge buzzed with renewed energy as the crew carried out his orders. The Sparrow might have been the smallest ship in the exercise, but under Liam's command, it was about to become the most dangerous. The aliens had laughed at human games. Now they'd learn just how deadly those games could be. The Fractal Dawn's bridge was a symphony of crystalline precision, every surface reflecting the cold blue light of distant stars. Vexis stood at the center, her faceted body pulsing with calculated certainty. The battle had been proceeding exactly as predicted until the humans' first move. Now her logic processors hummed with uncharacteristic strain. Report, Vexis commanded, her voice a chime of perfect harmonics. The sensor officer's crystalline form flickered. The Sparrow's remnants have scattered into Sector Theta, Phi, but our scans show multiple energy signatures, at least 12 new contacts. Impossible, Vexis said. The human's corvette had been crippled, its reactors dark, yet now her tactical display bloomed with red markers, ghostly outlines of ships that shouldn't exist. On the main viewer, static crackled. Then Liam Carter's face appeared, his grin sharp. Hey Vexis, ever play hide and seek? The transmission cut. Counter, scan, Vexis ordered. Identify false signals. Her crew worked with mechanical efficiency, but the ghost signatures shifted, flickering between positions. One moment a cruiser appeared near the asteroid belt, the next it vanished, only to reappear directly behind the fractal dawn. Logic error, the tactical officer intoned. These patterns violate known stealth parameters. Vexis' core pulsed faster. Human deception tactics were illogical, unpredictable. She accessed the Academy database, searching for parallels. Then it struck her. Reroute processing power to sensor analysis, she commanded. These are not ships, they are. The fractal dawn shuddered. Alarms wailed as the Sparrow's battered hull slammed into the cruiser's starboard flank, not as a weapon, but as a battering ram. Metal screamed. The Sparrow's broken frame crumpled against the fractal dawn's shields, but not before its ruptured fuel lines ignited. A chain reaction detonated the corvette's remaining munitions. For a crystalline being, the sensation was unpleasant. Vexis staggered as her ship's gravity fluctuated. The main viewer shattered into prismatic fragments. Across the bridge, her crew's forms dimmed with system shocks. Shield generator compromised. The engineer chimed. Structural integrity at Fey and falling. On the tactical display, the ghost signatures winked out one by one, revealing their true nature: drones. Simple, disposable probes emitting false signals. A tactic so crude it bordered on insulting, yet it had worked. Vexis watched in silent dismay as the Sparrow's final act played out. The dying ship's wreckage spun away, trailing flames, but not before its last railgun round punched through the fractal dawn's weakened shields. The round didn't strike the bridge, didn't target engines or weapons. It hit the communications array, a calculated move. The fractal dawn was now blind to the greater battle, cut off from Zorvax's fleet. Static filled the comm channels. Then, impossibly, Liam's voice crackled through. Check your inbox. Vexis, I sent you something. A data packet appeared on her console. She accessed it, and her crystalline form flared with uncharacteristic color. It was a video file, ancient human footage, a child's hand moving wooden blocks in a pattern. The label read, How to beat a supercomputer at chess, HFY. The implication was clear. Vexis processors cycled through responses, each more unsatisfactory than the last. She had been outmaneuvered not by superior technology, but by play. On the shattered view screen, the Sparrow's wreckage tumbled silently. Its hull bore fresh markings hastily painted before the battle. Jeeg no ray. Vexis didn't need a translation matrix to understand the taunt. Her tactical officer pulsed with urgent light. The Obsidian Maw is hailing us. Zorvax demands status. Vexis observed the battle's new trajectory. The fractal dawn was crippled. Zorvax's fleet, now unsupported, was advancing blindly into Liam's trap. She hesitated, then made a decision no crystalline tactician had ever made in Academy history. Signal the Obsidian Maw, Vexis said. Tell Zorvax to brace himself. Across the void, the Sparrow's final drone activated its single payload. A captured Zorvaxian transponder began broadcasting from the heart of the asteroid field. To Zorvax sensors, it would appear as the fractal dawn's distress beacon. Liam's voice whispered through the static one last time. King me. The trap was sprung. The Obsidian Maw's bridge trembled as another volley of railgun fire slammed into its forward shields. Zorvax's reptilian claws dug into his command chair, his forked tongue flicking out in agitation. The tactical display showed his once proud fleet in disarray, half his escorts drifting dead in space, their hulls punctured by asteroid fragments or crippled by the Sparrow's hit, and run attacks. Status report. Zorvax hissed at his sensor officer. The smaller reptilian flinched under his glare. Shields at Fey, Commander. The fractal dawn is offline. Vexis's ship took a direct hit to their primary. I know what happened to Vexis. Zorvax roared, slamming a fist against the console. The bridge crew fell silent. Outside the viewports, the last flickering embers of the Fractal Dawn's crystalline hull tumbled through the void. A new alert chimed. The comms officer stiffened. Incoming transmission from the Sparrow, sir. Audio only. Zorvax's scales darkened with rage. Put it through. Liam Carter's voice crackled over the speakers, calm as if discussing the weather. Hey Zorvax, GG. The bridge crew exchanged confused glances. Zorvax's nostrils flared. What does that mean? Some human insult. Over the comms, Liam chuckled. It means good game sportsmanship, you know. Zorvax's tail lashed behind him. You dare mock me after what you've done to my fleet. I'll tear your pathetic ship apart, bolt by bolt. About that, Liam said. The transmission cut out. At that moment, three things happened simultaneously. First, the Sparrow, which had been floating dead in space with its reactors, dark and hull breached, suddenly flared to life. Its running lights blazed back on, its thrusters flaring as it spun to face the obsidian maw. Second, the tactical display updated with a horrifying realization. The Sparrow's critical damage had been a ruse. Its reactor signatures, its hull breaches, even the escape pods it had launched, all decoys. The ship was at fake combat readiness. Third, and most terrifying, the Sparrow's railgun arrays powered up with a deep, resonant hum that vibrated through the obsidian maw's hull. The targeting lasers painted a dozen crimson dots across the bridge's main viewport. Zorvax's blood ran cold. Evasive maneuvers. Now too late. The Sparrow fired. Not at the obsidian maw's engines, not at its weapons, at its bridge. The hypervelocity rounds punched through the weakened shields like paper. The first shot shattered the viewport. The second tore through the comm station in a shower of sparks and reptilian blood. The third impacted directly in front of Zorvax's command chair, stopping millimeters from his face as the simulation safeties engaged. A klaxon blared. The entire obsidian maw's bridge flashed red as the Academy's AI announced, fatal command crew incapacitation detected. Flagship obsidian maw eliminated from exercise. Silence then. Over the comms, Liam's voice returned. Oh, and Zorvax. In human games, we call that a headshot. The transmission ended. On the Sparrow's bridge, Ensign Reavers let out a whoop, slamming his fist into the air. Holy hell, Liam, you actually made him rage. Quit. Liam leaned back in his chair, grinning. Told you they wouldn't see it coming, classic MOBA bait and switch. Across the simulation arena, the remaining alien ships floundered without their command vessels. The Sparrow's crew watched as one by one. The Academy AI marked them as defeated. Chief Engineer Park shook her head in disbelief. They gave us the weakest ship on purpose. Thought we'd die in the first 5 minutes. Liam stretched, cracking his knuckles. Never underestimate humans in a rigged game. We've been cheating the system since we invented dice. Meanwhile, aboard the crippled Fractal Dawn, Vexis's crystalline form pulsed with erratic energy patterns. Her logic processors struggled to reconcile what had just occurred. Impossible, she whispered. No species fights like this. No tactics follow these patterns. Her second, in command, a younger crystalline being named Zyril, trembled. Commander, what do we do? Vexis watched the Sparrow's silhouette grow larger on their damaged view screen as it approached. Her voice was hollow. We lose. The Academy's simulation AI made its final announcement as the Sparrow's transponder pinged victory across the entire battlefield. Exercise concluded. Victor, USN Sparrow. Victory efficiency rating. Fei. New Academy record registered. On 100 alien ships, 100 alien commanders sat in stunned silence. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of war. The debriefing chamber hummed with tension as the simulation results flickered to life above the central holodisplay. Every cadet, professor, and visiting dignitary from 17 species stood frozen, their eyes locked on the glowing numbers that defied all expectations. Liam Carter leaned against the back wall, arms crossed, watching the reactions play out across alien faces. His knuckles were still white from gripping the Sparrow's controls during those final moments. The air smelled of ozone and the sharp tang of alien pheromones. Fear, confusion, disbelief. Impossible, whispered Vexis. Her crystalline form pulsed erratic violet light, facets dimming and brightening like a malfunctioning processor. The fractal dawn's wreckage still floated in the simulation replay behind her, its shattered hull spinning silently in the void. Professor Krell, a grizzled Octarian warlord with 4 obsidian eyes, stepped forward. His armored tentacles tapped the display, enlarging the victory metrics. Cadet Carter's fleet achieved a 98.7% combat efficiency rating. The words hung in the air like a detonated warhead. Zorvax's scaled hands clenched into fists. There must be an error in the simulation parameters. No first-year cadet, especially not a human, has ever scored above 80% in Tides of Conquest. His forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air for deception. Krell's central eye narrowed. Review the playback yourself, Zorvax. The hologram rewound, showing the Sparrow's final maneuver in slow motion. Liam's Corvette had drifted dead for 3 full minutes after its reactor took a simulated hit. Zorvax's fleet had celebrated, turning their attention elsewhere, until the Sparrow's railguns powered up without warning, its targeting lasers painting the Obsidian Moor's bridge. That is against regulations, snapped a Thrixin cadet, their bioluminescent stripes flaring red. A ship with reactor damage cannot. False readings, Liam said quietly. All eyes turned to him. He pushed off the wall, stepping into the light. We routed auxiliary power through secondary conduits, made it look like a cascade failure, standard tactic in human fleet simulators. Vexis's crystalline body emitted a high-pitched chime, the equivalent of a gasp. You weaponized chaos. Her voice trembled. The sensor ghosts, the feigned retreats, even that meaningless transmission at the end. JEG, Liam confirmed, grinning. Ancient human gaming term stands for good game. The chamber erupted. Tentacles flailed, wings buzzed, and at least 2 species emitted distress pheromones. Professor Krell silenced them with a thunderous clap of his armored limbs. Enough! His voice shook the reinforced bulkheads. The lesson here is not about regulations or tradition. It is about adaptation. He turned to Liam, all 4 eyes studying him with newfound respect. Humanity does not merely follow the rules of war, they redefine them. The hologram zoomed out, showing the entire battle from start to finish. Liam's fleet moved in patterns no Academy textbook had ever documented, sudden reversals, feints within feints, attacks that seemed suicidal until their true purpose became clear. A Quavian admiral, his chitinous plates rattling, pointed at the display. These maneuvers, they resemble no known tactical doctrine. That is because they're not tactics, Liam said. He tapped his temple. They're plays moves perfected over centuries of human strategy games. Chess, go StarCraft. Silence. Then, from the back of the room, a single pair of hands began clapping. Slow, deliberate. Professor Yaris, the oldest living veteran of the Andromeda conflict, stepped forward. His voice was a rasp of ancient wisdom. I fought humans at Tau Ceti, saw their ships do things no sane species would attempt. He nodded at Liam. We called it madness. They called it bluffing. Zorvax's tail lashed. This changes nothing. One lucky simulation doesn't. Lucky, Krell interrupted. He manipulated the hologram, isolating a single moment, the Sparrow threading through a gap in the Obsidian Moor's flank defenses. That gap existed for 0.6 seconds. Your own tactical AI didn't register it. Cadet Carter did. Vexis pulsed a deep, contemplative blue. She floated toward Liam, her crystalline form refracting the holographic light. Your species. You see patterns. We cannot. You anticipate moves before they're made. Liam shrugged. When you grow up playing games where losing means starting over, you learn to think ahead. Krell's tentacles moved in a gesture of finality. As of this moment, human game theory will be added to the Academy's core curriculum. Murmurs of protest rose, but he silenced them with a glare. The Federation has spent centuries dismissing human childishness. Today proved that oversight could cost us wars. The hologram froze on the Sparrow's final shot, the obsidian Moore's bridge exploding in simulated flames. Zorvax stared at it, his reptilian pupils thin slits of humiliation. Liam met his gaze. No gloating, no smirk, just the quiet confidence of a player who'd already seen 10 moves ahead. Outside the chamber's viewports, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere among them, Earth's fleets patrolled borders the galaxy had once deemed insignificant. Not anymore. The Academy courtyard stretched beneath a simulated Earth sunset, its artificial sky painted in hues of orange and purple. Liam Carter sat on a bench, his fingers tapping an idle rhythm against his thigh. The Sparrow's victory had been hours ago, but the whispers still followed him through the halls. He could feel the weight of alien stares even now. A shadow fell across the bench. Zorvax stood there, his reptilian scales still darkened with the remnants of frustration. Behind him, Vexis hovered, her crystalline form flickering with an unreadable pattern. A dozen other cadets lingered at a distance, their postures tense. Liam didn't look up. Come to gloat. Zorvax's forked tongue flicked out. No. The word came out strained, as if pulled from him against his will. Vexis pulsed a soft blue. We came to understand. Liam finally lifted his gaze. The courtyard was filling with cadets now, species head never spoken to, faces that had sneered at him for months. They weren't laughing anymore. A 4-armed Krellian cadet stepped forward, his voice hesitant. Your tactics, they were not in any of our textbooks. Of course not, Liam said. You don't study human games, Zorvax hissed. Games? You keep saying that word, but what you did was not play. Liam leaned back, stretching his arms behind his head. Ever heard of chess? Vex's form shimmered. A primitive board game. We dismissed it as irrelevant. Yeah, big mistake, Liam grinned. You see, humans don't just play to win. We play to learn how to break the rules. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The Krellian's secondary arms twitched. You mean you train for war through games? Not just war, everything. Liam pulled out a small data chip and tossed it to Zorvax. The reptilian caught it with reflex precision. That's a compilation of Earth's greatest strategy games. Go StarCraft Poker, study them. Zorvax turned the chip over in his claws. And this will teach us to think like you. No. Liam stood, brushing imaginary dust from his uniform. But it'll teach you why you lost. Silence, then, from the back of the crowd, a voice called out, Teach us. Liam blinked. The speaker was a young Vespidian, her exoskeleton still soft with youth. Her compound eyes gleamed with something he hadn't seen directed at him before. Respect. More voices joined hers. Show us the human way. How do we start? Vexis pulsed brighter. The Academy's tactical algorithms are outdated. Your methods, they cannot be predicted. Zorvax's scales rippled. He looked down at the data chip, then back at Liam. You humiliated us today. Liam shrugged. You humiliated yourselves by underestimating me. The reptilian's nostrils flared. Then, slowly, he extended a clawed hand. Then we will not make that mistake again. Teach us these games. Liam looked at the outstretched hand, then at the sea of alien faces watching him. For the first time since arriving at the academy, he didn't see mockery. First lesson, never underestimate the player. 3 cycles later, the academy's central holographic display flickered to life. Professor Krell's 4 eyes scanned the assembled cadets, now including several humans who had arrived after Earth Command caught wind of Liam's success. Attention, the professor boomed. By order of the Galactic Federation Council, the following course is now mandatory for all tactical track cadets. The display shimmered. New text appeared in glowing letters. Human Game Theory Faye Applied Chaos Strategy Liam, now wearing instructor insignia, smirked as the groans and cheers mixed in equal measure. Behind him, a crate of ancient Earth textbooks sat unsealed. Sun Tzu's Art of War gleamed on top, its cover freshly stamped with Galactic Standard Translation glyphs. Zorvax, now his assistant instructor, hissed softly. "This will change everything." Liam clapped him on the shoulder. That's the point. Outside the lecture hall, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere out there, fleets moved in predictable patterns, following rules written by species who'd never lost a game of chicken. Not for long.